So, what was that moment that you realized you had to change your relationship with work? You share a great burnout story at the very beginning. With just having that great story, getting started in is so wonderful. So, what is that moment that you realized that change?
Yeah, I started the book with like a kind of embarrassing story, but it was important to me to put embarrassing and real stories like that in the book
Exactly.
because I think that those are the ones that people relate to the most. Like, yeah, I could have come up with something else or even like made something else up that made me sound like way cooler than I am. But no, like I wrote this book like I'm talking to my best friend, and I hope that that's what people feel like when they read the book, that they're having someone talk to them that's just a straight shooter. And
Wonderful.
to answer your question about what was the moment, the truth is that there were a lot of the moments, and I
Mhm.
ignored a lot of them until it just got so bad. Um, for example, I guess a little bit more backstory, because I feel like this is important. My first 10, 12 years of my professional career, I worked as I guess you'd call it a roadie in the music industry. I was part of the crew for concerts and tours. I rode the tour bus. I went around the country. I went around the world. And every single day, every single show day, that great big setup you see when you go to a concert with the lights and the video wall and the speakers, we do that in a day. We put it up in the morning, we get ready for the show, we tear it all down at night, pack it up in exactly the same way that it came off the truck. If it's not, like, it's a nightmare. Um, Sleep on the bus and do it again the next day for the next show. Uh, and I say all that to try and convey how, like, mentally, physically, every way possible, like, exhausting and draining that this line of work can be. Now it is energizing, you're putting on a show. There's the audience screaming and cheering in the background during the show. But after a few years, like, that is such a small part of the day. That's such a small part of the experience that it got to a point where that wasn't enough to
Mhm.
keep me energized in that job anymore. Um, to the point where, like, in the later years, I was feeling so disillusioned with it. I would end up, like, calling John and just crying in the afternoon because, like, I was so tired and exhausted, and I didn't know, like, I don't know, I didn't feel like I could leave. I didn't feel like I was, there was a little bit of fear there in terms of, like, leaving to try to do something else or pursue something else. Uh, it's a kinda job that takes a lot out of you. And so I stayed. I stayed a little too long. I ignored a lot of those red flags. Um, but I eventually did migrate out of that into the business that John and I run today, and which was so great. Like, that was so galvanizing and energizing in so many different ways. But I learned pretty quickly that running your own business is its own, like, set of challenges and set of stressors that I wasn't necessarily prepared for. Um,
Right, because
it's
when
like,
you're running it and starting out and bootstrapping it, you're often
yeah,
doing all of the roles, not just the
all of
roles
the
you thrive in.
yes, which it
Yeah.
was just the 2 of us doing everything at home, and that can be a little bit exhausting. There's also that added pressure of, it's not a guaranteed paycheck. Like, when you're running your own business, like, it's whatever work you can drum up, like, that's how well you're gonna do or not do.
Mhm.
And so that was its own whole stressor that I wasn't quite ready for. And you asked for, like, a single moment. There was a single moment, kind of at the height of that, where I think I had just turned 40, or I was about to turn 40, and I was starting to have these, like, chest pains, and it was really scary. And one day it was, like, tight enough and painful enough. I was like, we have to go to the ER. Like, I don't think I can ignore this anymore. I don't know what's happening, but but we gotta
Yeah.
go. And I was fine. We went to the doctor, they ran the tests, they did the EKG and the thing that goes beep and all that, and I was fine. Um, and they just kind of, like, wrote it off as, like, just another, like, dramatic woman. Here's a prescription for anti-anxiety meds. Like, bye. Yeah. And I remember, like, holding the pills and looking at them on the drive home, and, like, and just thinking, this is not sustainable. Like, I can't. I got to figure something else out. Um, And it changes don't happen overnight. Uh, I think that that kind of was the beginning of us being more selective in the clients that we chose to work with and working on projects that really energize and galvanize us. But it was also the book. It was also me deciding to do this thing that felt a little bit impossible. I'd never written a book before. It
Mhm.
felt super intimidating, but I felt it deep down in my gut that like this is something that I really need to do and really want to do. Um, I didn't have any idea how to write a book. I had to kind of learn all that stuff as I went. But just carving out time for that in the day and my very busy day, some days it's only a little bit of time. But I
Mhm.
found that when I can do that, I have so much more to give on the client front, on the other
Mhm.
projects that are going on, um, when I can work on this little thing for me. So
There's so many different nuances. There's so many things, and it's so easy to get lost in the intricacy of our day to day.